Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV Podcast. This is episode 51, the week of July 6th, 2024. My name's Drew Koenig. With me, as always, is my co-host, Matt Sassy. Matt, how are we doing?
My brain is scrambled eggs, so it's been a long week.
That is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Also unfortunate is my cat wreaking havoc on my laptop this week. Not in the cards. Did not need that.
That's not good.
And if it wasn't that, then there was also the dog found the cord to my laptop and decided to chew it. And it's just like the animals revolted against us this weekend.
Revolt.
The Secret Life of Pets is really just them being angry that we leave them home alone, so they lash out.
The zoo is happening. Me and my friend watched the CBS show Zoo together.
Yeah.
Which was about animals uprising against
the humans.
Against humans and causing general mayhem and havoc. So whenever we send each other videos of like animals acting out, and we'll just go, the zoo is happening. The revolt. So that's what this is. The revolt. The zoo.
It's fun times.
Fun times, yep. Belated 4th of July. What did you do for the 4th?
I laid around and watched Disney movies with the child that was at our house. She's discovered The Emperor's New Groove, and I couldn't be happier about that. Personally, I think it's a great film. And then we went to Olive Garden because we had a gift card.
Right.
And fuck celebrating America. We are not firework people in this house, therefore we don't do that stuff. But also I feel like America should have a timeout this year, so I literally actually tweeted a meme about that, or not tweeted, put it on my Facebook saying, we shouldn't be celebrating America this year. America is in timeout.
America's in timeout. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Yeah. I worked for part of 4th of July.
Oh yeah, how are the booze hounds?
They're annoying. They're so deeply annoying. I wasn't supposed to work for 4th of July, and then my bosses went, oh, we need coverage for that day, so I ended up working like the middle of the day.
No.
Stupid. So yeah, I didn't really do anything for 4th of July. Stayed in and drank some.
That's smart, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty lucky. I could still hear the fireworks, and I still hear fireworks right now, actually. This is the problem. I live too much into, like, suburb country. So it's, like, very kind of quasi-conservative. So everyone's just, like, blowing off fireworks all over the place. Fireworks is the most absurd way that we can think of to celebrate this country and also veterans.
Deeply weird. So, we live right by Air Force Army base. And so, yeah, the fireworks were going late into the night, as we could hear. It was just like, oh my god, this is so annoying. Missy, our dog, has never really, like, interacted with fireworks before, and she was not having it either. She was just, like, pacing the house. She was like, no, can we stop those noises? That'd be great.
My cat just seemed vaguely perturbed by it.
Yeah.
Like, what is this noise? What are you doing? Also, incidentally, is the world coming to an end? Not even, like, at the top of her concerns list. It's not a high priority. It's just, hey, is the world coming to an end? And should I do something about it? No? Okay, fine. That's fine, too.
She's like, moving on. Bye.
Moving on. I would prefer that the world was coming to an end. But if it's not, that's also acceptable. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed their 4th of July, I guess. I hope you had a nice hot dog. Or whatever people do for 4th of July. That doesn't involve fireworks. So, in lieu of any news, really substantial, we can just move on into the GOAT. So the GOAT is a weekly segment we do here where myself and Mads nominate a best TV character or episode of all time and pit them against each other. So we are playing a little bit of catch-up here. We have the results from the redemption round from a few weeks ago. And in a surprise victory, Mads came away with a win for that. Where that one was Lexa from the 100 versus. What was it?
Emmett.
Yeah, Emmett from Queer as Folk.
Emmett Honeycutt.
Emmett Honeycutt.
Somewhere in the alternate universe of Queer as Folk, Emmett is dancing and celebrating.
But yeah, you kind of ran away with that. We also this may change, but I feel like we can call it. Our other poll, Santana from Glee versus Oliver from How to Get Away with Murder. Looks like Santana's going to win that one, which will surprise approximately.
Yeah, anything that goes up against Santana is probably going to lose.
Yeah, but now we can.
She's one of those characters that on paper doesn't seem like one that would be beloved by everybody, and yet she is.
She is deeply beloved.
Deeply, deeply beloved.
She also probably gets that Naya Rivera bump for reasons. Anyway, so that leaves us going forward in our veto count. I have 2. Mads, you now have 2. And something to keep in mind as we go forward this week as we present our new GOAT submissions. And for a reminder, our theme for this week was shows that we watched before we were 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So any show from before we were an adult, which is you would think an expansive pool, but felt very limiting as I was like going through the shows that I actually legitimately watched as a teenager and child.
Yep.
But I think, and I hope that we both came away with a good pick here. Since you won the redemption round, we can kind of call that one. Let's have you go first, and in conjunction with your pick, also like why this show.
All right. So when I was thinking about shows that I watched as a kid growing up, I was like two of them really stuck out to me, and one of them was Degrassi: The Next Generation, and I feel like I've nominated it for a couple things in the past year, so I was like, let's scratch Degrassi and like look at the other show that like really sticks in my brain as something that I watched pre-teenager years. Because I feel like between 15 and 18, yes, that's still technically in the scope of what we could look at. I watched so much stuff, but it carried over beyond 18. So I was just like, all right, let me just do the stuff that was pre 15 years old, right? So I decided to go with Boy Meets World, and I'm going with an episode because I feel like if I picked a character, I would like decimate you without ever lifting a finger, and that's not fair to you. I want to make it somewhat fair, but the episode that I always think of the minute I think of Boy Meets World is season 4, episode 11, An Affair to Forget. And this is the one where Sean has gotten back with his old girlfriend, and she doesn't like his relationship with Corey at all, and so she forbids him from seeing Corey. And so the episode goes through a series of clandestine meetings between Corey and Sean, where they, meet up in secret and pretend to be like, honestly, it feels like star-crossed lovers, and very much helps the whole Corey and Sean shipping situation that has happened over the years in the fandom. And it's actually the reason I really started to ship them, because I watched this episode and I was like, oh my god, they love each other so much. And the scene that really sticks in my brain is there's a baked good, and Corey gets it for Sean, but then has to lie because the girlfriend comes up, and he's like, oh no, this was for me. And then later on, they're in the stacks, and Sean says to Corey, that was for me, wasn't it? And Corey's like, it was. It really was. But like, it's a silly, non-serious episode, but it's the one that I think of first and foremost anytime I think about Boy Meets World. So season 4, Episode 11, An Affair to Forget.
Nice. It's a good pick. So as I was going through like the shows that I really watch, I did kind of I did run up to the same problem you had of like, okay, I watched like a bunch of shows from like 15-year old. How much of those really count? And I was like, okay, let's go back a little further. And so I feel like a show that was like a real mainstay in my household, like as a teenager, but even earlier than that, a little bit, was Scrubs. And I nominated an episode of Scrubs a long while ago, which was the season 3 episode "My Mistake," I believe it was, which is a great episode. But I did kind of want to say in that vein, I was like, okay, I picked a episode of Scrubs, so now I will pick a character. And so my character is Dr. Perry Cox, played by John C. McGinley, who is aided both by being a really well-written character and is also a performance that is so dynamic and so energetic and has so much life. John C. McGinley takes what is a kind of surly, sarcastic doctor and like really brings him to life, like really gives him a personality. The way, merely just the way that McGinley enunciates and uses syllables, like really kind of propels him. Like it's just like these really good dialogue work, where like John C. McGinley can give a rant like no other. And I was watching on YouTube these collection of Dr. Cox rants, and it's like, yeah, he was just like on a different level than like a lot of other TV characters, like especially in like a kind of sitcom slash dramedy space. He just felt really exceptional. Just the way he delivers a line is so good, which isn't even getting into like the actual meat of the character, which is, again, this surly, over it doctor is continuously forced to mentor this young doctor that he pretends not to care about. Over the course of like the seasons, like watching the way the show dimensionalizes and gives him depth, and the really quiet ways that like Scrubs was always like kind of good at just like delivering a really solid gut punch via Dr. Cox and kind of just hit you where your heart lives. It's just really good. So that's my pick. Dr. Perry Cox.
Nice. He's a good one.
Funny story. So these videos that I was watching on YouTube, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, these videos are like 10, 11 years old. Okay. So they were made like 2007. My brain went, no, Drew, that's not right. That's not right.
You're like, wait, it can't be in the 2010s. That wasn't 10 years ago.
That wasn't 10 years ago. That can't be right. But yeah, so those are our picks. You can go vote for these on our Google form, and it'll be up on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram and Tumblr. For next week, our theme is going to be in honor of House of the Dragon, show that exists in the fantasy genre. So it has to be a show where it feels like you could have magic or dragons. It's not necessary for magic or dragons to have appeared in the show, but it needs to have felt like there could have been magic or dragons. I'm sure we'll have some great picks, and hopefully we won't just go with the easy pick of Game of Thrones. We might. I mean, it's possible, but you always want to dig a little deeper. Although, Game of Thrones has not had a submission yet. So keep an eye out for that next week. Without anything else, let's move on into the main part of our show. So for our first show this week, we are moving past Adventure Time proper, and now we're going through the Distant Land miniseries that aired on Max back in 2021. First of these installments, entitled BMO. I think the first thing I want to ask you here is: did you realize until the very end that this was a prequel?
No, I did not until the very end, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, because
this is not post." Okay, like,
I think it does a nice switcheroo where you're like, okay, everything happened, and now we're watching BMO kind of go off on his own. Maybe Finn or Jake have passed away, and BMO's like on his own adventure
mm-hmm.
now. But no,
No, he goes and finds them.
yeah, BMO is but a baby.
It's just so weird because he doesn't seem baby like necessarily, any more so than usual throughout the whole episode. So like it really did throw me because I was like, okay, this is the BMO we know and love, like same maturity level, like, it could be at any point in the timeline, and apparently it's a prequel.
Yeah, it's kind of the great thing about BMO, where he is so static as a character,
Mm-hmm.
and like his programming always kind of defaults to a base setting that he has. No matter where you see him on a timeline, he's always just kind of gonna be this, you know? He's always gonna
Yep.
be like, BMO noir mode, you know? No matter what happens, whether or not it's, baby BMO here at the beginning or like King of Ooh BMO. Like he's always just gonna be in that same place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the beauty of that character. I don't know where BMO got a spaceship. I don't know if Mo gave him a spaceship because his plan was to go to Mars, right? Like he was supposed to go to the Martians.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that factors in, but yeah, it's kind of delightful. Like I said about like BMO Noir, this whole kind of episode is a kind of BMO Noir-esque thing happening, and that's just so fun. So what do you think about this overall?
I enjoyed it. I really had fun with BMO trying to help and falling short because of his inability to do certain things, but also like he doesn't lose hope though. Like he's just like, well, let's just try it a different way. And it's clearly irritating the people around him, but I don't know, I just really enjoyed myself. The 45 minutes goes by really fast.
Yes.
And I don't know. I love BMO, so it's hard for me to be like say other things other than it's just BMO's just great. Like it's just great because BMO's great. But it was very good and interesting to meet these new characters, see how they interact with BMO.
And some not new characters.
Yes.
The return of Stephen Root as Martin,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. M,
Yes.
who gets a really good callback at the end with the "Here comes the rascal." Yeah, it is kind of delightful, kind of all the way through. I don't think the ending really comes to a good place, especially in terms of like the Hugo of it all. I think they're like, okay, we got an Elon Musk kind of guy, but we don't really know how to leave that character or like what to necessarily say at the end of it, and especially where like you have the probe like still hanging out with him at the end, and it's like, so what are you trying to tell me about Hugo and about these kind of eccentric billionaire I will save the day types,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think it ever like came to a good place on that.
No, but I honestly didn't care. I was just like, it was an enjoyable time. Don't look too closely at
Right, but
the
also
man
like
behind the mirror,
right, but also like
kind of thing.
I feel like it's trying to say something about that.
Yep.
Like if the objective was to not say anything about that, there were easier ways to have like, oh, our station is shutting down and we all need to work together to save it, you know?
Yep. That's fair.
And I do love the end of the special with like Bebo just being like, well, I gotta go home now. I'm good.
He's like, well, on to the next adventure. Bye. He noped on out of there, which was
Nope, done out.
really funny.
Yeah,
And it was just like, this is very BMO.
yeah, no, he's very. If you ever watch like the like '80s action TV shows of like the guy who comes into the town and like saves the day and then just like it's pieces out like the A Team or something, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Honestly, I got the feeling that BMO didn't interact. Like, here's the thing. BMO rubbed them the wrong way, and they rubbed BMO the wrong way, so why would BMO stick around? BMO's like, we ain't besties. Bye. BMO's like, I'm gonna go find myself some real friends. And he does.
He does, yeah, yeah.
Like, I feel like he gets underestimated too much by the people he's trying to help, and it's like, just because he seems like a child doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to him.
Right.
And like he helped those one creatures with the, save them from the water and their loot, and they berate him because they almost lost a couple pieces of their loot, and I'm like, he just saved your freaking life. Like, give him some kudos there.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have loot to worry about because you'd be dead. Like, that part kind of annoyed me because I've been there. Like, I've been there where I've helped somebody and all they could do was find something to complain about, and it's just like, fuck you. Next time I won't save your life. Like, and you got the feeling that BMO kind of felt the same way. He's just like, you're alive.
Yeah, and the sequence in the like the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what they call it exactly, but like the jungle containment unit or whatever. And like that shot of BMO just like ripping apart was terrifying. Which is like part of the thing of like why it kind of works to the episode's benefit that like you don't realize it's a prequel until the very end.
Yeah.
Because BMO could die. And you needed to believe that like BMO or like something bad could happen to BMO, like separate from like whatever we know about like King of Boo. And the like that just that shot of like him coming apart is just so haunting. But I do love that moment of like when BMO's just talking to himself and he's like, BMO's always okay. Which is always the thought about BMO. It's like BMO always survives. BMO's always fine. Like
BMO's fine.
yeah, BMO's fine. Like there's even an episode where like Jake says that where like BMO doesn't want to do something and he like jumps out of a out of a sailboat that he's on with Jake. And Jake's like, BMO's always fine. So I like that in this special. Like, yeah, BMO's always fine, except when he's not. Again, working to the episode's benefit of like you believing this is an epilogue. Yeah, and then that very end with BMO crashing down next to baby Finn and Jake.
Yeah.
And they're just so adorable.
I loved it.
But also, again, like we said this a lot during like Adventure Time, but like your parents, are they gone? Are they did they leave you at
Yeah.
this treehouse?
There are the parental figures on this show leave a lot to be desired.
So much to be desired. Like you all are babies. But I do love the design of both Finn and Jake, where Finn is just such like he is such a baby. He's just such a tiny child, and Jake has is in like a punk era where he has like a leather jacket and a mohawk, and
it's great.
So let's continue to our next show. We're not talking about the Unsleeping City this week for Dimension 20. But I do want to check in on the new season, Never Stop Blowing Up. which is so fun so far. So you have a really fun table to start with, where you have Allie, who's Intrepid Hero from Maidship Dimension 20, and you have Reika, who is on Escape from the Bloodkeep, and you have Izzy, who's Brennan's wife and has been on a number of Dimension 20 seasons, and also Iffy, who's on Escape from the Bloodkeep as well. And it's really fun. What if, like, Jumanji, but what you went into were, like, 80s action movies? I'm actually kind of impressed with, like, the ambition for the season, because all of the characters have their real world characters, and then the kind of action movie character that they're playing also, and then like their real world character as the action movie character. So it's really fun. And so like you have a bunch of like, one person is basically Vin Diesel from Fast and the Furious, and one person is like James Bond, and another is kind of like Black Widow, and another is John McClane, essentially. So it's a lot of fun, and being able to just like exist in this in these like not just 80s but like action movies. Interestingly, one person is pretty much Kingpin from Daredevil, which is a nice like departure from the norm here. So yeah, I do really enjoy the season so far, and I really like Izzy at this table, because the only person that Brennan is truly not prepared for is his own wife, which is really funny, which is kind of made even better because like Izzy was like 7 months pregnant during this season. So she's just kind of out in her own world, which is really funny. And they're using a different game system, so they're not doing like classic D&D. They're doing a game called Kids on Bikes, which is an entirely different mechanic altogether, and they used that back in Misfits and Magic, I believe, which isn't like my favorite game, but it's very entertaining. And they have there's a mechanic in Kids on Bikes where you have a D4, and if you roll a 4, your dice blows up. And so like that's a nice conjunction here with, you know, never stop blowing up. So it's a nice pairing of like game mode to season and plot. So I like that. Overall, it's a very fun season so far, and especially with like the first episode being set in like not a blockbuster, but like a video rental store that's like on its very last legs, which is like a nice setting for this and this kind of story. Let's move on to The Bear. Season 3, we're only going to be talking about the first 3 episodes this week. We will check in on the rest of the season next week. But there's been much discussion about the Bear's current season, and a perception and a dip of quality. Do you feel that this is warranted, or is everyone being too hard on the Bear?
I personally think that this season isn't really speaking to me as much as the previous 2 seasons. I kind of feel like we're doing a lot of the same stuff that we went through last season when they were setting up the restaurant. And it just doesn't feel like anything is happening. I feel like we've gone backwards and not forwards, even though technically, timeline-wise, we have moved forwards. It just doesn't feel like it. I enjoy Carmi as a character, but I am tired of his trauma. Can we move on to something more productive, please?
Yeah, I did not enjoy these first 3 episodes at all. I don't think they're very good. So this is the part where I'm not sure if this is part of like the show's like what they're trying to say for this season, or if I'm just being pedantic, or if I'm on the ball here. There's so much of like this. We have to get this visual started. There's so much of like what Carmi is doing throughout these early episodes where I'm going, this does not feel like the way. This You're not even attempting to run before you can walk. You are attempting to like ride a skateboard.
He's attempting to fly.
Yeah.
He's attempting to fly. And it's like, okay, sir, I understand wanting to get a Michelin star, but that doesn't happen overnight. And it's not going to happen if you don't even know how to run this restaurant that you just opened.
No.
I just, listen, the chaos worked for them in the first 2 seasons because we were setting up that these people were being taken over by a new guy that they didn't quite fully trust because he's not been around. That was season 1. Season 2 was they had some fresh faces, a whole new idea, and all this stuff, and they were going to open a new restaurant. They were rebuilding and making it into a fancy restaurant. Okay, that's fine. Season 3, things should not be still that chaotic in the kitchen.
No, we should.
But it is, because he's chosen now to change the menu every single day. And how wasteful is that idea? Sir, this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life. What do you mean? I can't. I'm with his sister and with Uncle on this one because they're both yelling at him about spending too much money on food for stupid reasons, and I agree. Like, Carmi, this is a dumb idea. Dial it back and stop.
Well, and I think this is a problem with how they're writing the season of the first episode showing the ways that the trauma has affected Carmi of working in restaurants and cooking. And then the other 2 episodes going, Carmi has learned nothing. He will do all the same things that fucking Joel McHale did. And he will continue to contribute to the toxicity of this environment. And at a certain point, I have to say, like, what's the point? Like, what are you...
Also, I didn't like that the first episode didn't really easily clue us in to the fact that it went back in time. Because when it started off and she's like, I feel like we're not going to see you again. I was like, wait, is he leaving right after he opened his restaurant? Like, I was so confused. And then it took me a bit and I was like, oh no, this is when he first went to New York and tried to do the whole fancy restaurant shit. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, it took me a good chunk of time to realize this. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm so confused.
Right. Yeah, I don't like this first episode at all. Mm-mm. It is haphazard. It is a fucking mood piece. And I don't feel like it accomplishes anything. It doesn't tell us anything more about Carmi as a person than we already knew.
Right. We knew all this trauma shit because he's actually told it to us. Now there's like, oh, well, we need to show you. No. That's not how this works.
No, I already...
Like, you can't do both.
You're not... the show isn't giving us anything new. It isn't providing us with anything. It's just rehashing stuff that it's already gone through. It pairs so much with, like, what this season is doing, and, like, Carmi trying to do, like, this next level artistry as food shit. That's all I feel like this first episode is. It's just artistry for the sake of artistry, without actually doing anything. And if I went to a fucking restaurant and I'm paying as much as I'm paying, like, based on what they're saying, which is like, what was it, like $190?
Yeah.
And you gave me this fucking bullshit broth, I would curse your name into oblivion. Like, some of the food did not look good, and I don't want to sound like Anya Taylor-Joy and, like, the menu, but it's like, just give me the freaking food, man. Like, give me the stuff that works.
And I feel really bad for what's her name that's on the stove, and, like, she's flustering and failing, and it's like, it's not her fault.
No.
Carmi's changing the game every single day, and then he's expecting everyone to keep on track with everything, and I'm like, no offense, I'm siding with everyone except Carmi this season, and it's like, I don't know if I should be. I don't think that's the point of the show. I don't think they're wanting us to side with everyone but Carmi, but like everyone needs to oust Carmi out of his own business. Like he's being obnoxious. He needs to stop.
Yeah, like just I hate to say this, but just go smoke a cigarette, my guy.
Yeah, go back to smoking, dude. No one told you to stop smoking.
No one told you to
Just
stop.
go back to smoking. Just go back. Just please, please, please. I beg of you. I also I will say I think probably one of the only good things about this season so far is Richie. And because his anger and frustration is completely warranted. Because here he is, he's found a position, a job that he is really good at, and he wants to be successful, and he's proud of this restaurant that he's built with Carmi, and Carmi's throwing that shit down the drain, and he can see it happening, and Carmi's not listening to him, and like I understand his frustration. And Iban Moss Bacharach, is that how you say his last name? He's doing amazing as Richie, and like he's really helping us feel those emotions. And like that's the only probably really good thing about these first 3 episodes is that like he is warranted in all the times that he tries to punch Carmi, because I want to do it too.
But yeah, these episodes are just so rough. I don't know if they
I
tried to
don't
write this during like the writer's strike or if they
know.
I don't know what, but this is not it. I just
And like the 3rd episode was a whole month of time. I didn't realize this until like I was reading like a recap of the episode, and I was like, wait, it's an entire month? What? What? That didn't okay. Like I was like I didn't get that vibe, but all right, cool.
right. Like if you were to ask me, I would say like maybe 2 weeks pass.
Yeah, maybe.
Like maybe they went through 2 weeks, but like not a month.
And apparently, according to IMDb, because I just went on to IMDb to see something about the bear, and apparently, season 3, episode 3 is one of the top rated episodes, coming in at 8.9 out of 10 stars. I disagree, but okay. It seems like majority of the season is at least 8 stars. Okay. I think people are just voting because they like Jeremy Allen White, not because the show's that good. Anyways,
Let's continue on to My Lady Jane, which is now streaming on Prime Video. Whole season is up, and so this is an alternate history take on British history.
yes, on Jane Grey.
Yeah, Jane Grey, who the show even notes was executed early in life, and this is kind of what if she didn't die?
Yeah, she was connected with Henry VIII, but I can't remember exactly how. Someone on TikTok recently did the whole rundown of Henry VIII and like monarchs that came after him kind of thing, and I watched it very fascinated because I was curious, and didn't retain any of that information post watching the episode, but the post watching the video on TikTok. But it was funny that I watched that TikTok, and then within a day of watching that TikTok, I watched the first few episodes of this show, and I was like, oh, I remember them talking about her on that TikTok video. The acting performances are really good. I find it very interesting that there's a bit of magic going on in this. I was not expecting that to happen. And then all of a sudden people are turning into animals, and I'm just like, okay, that's a thing. Okay, that's happening.
Right. No, this is like the nice rug pull of this show where it's like, okay, we're doing some kind of vaguely anachronistic period piece. Okay, we're doing kind of staying in a similar vein to like the Great. Okay, I'm digging it. And then the Ethian shit happens, and you go, oh.
Wait, but the best part about the Ethian shit is that there are certain rules that apply to Ethians unless you are Jane Grey's husband, and those rules do not apply because he can't do it at will. He has to live his days as a horse and only be a man at night. And I find that so hysterical. Like, it's just so funny. And the butt of the joke about how they're like, well, what does he spend his days doing? And I'm just like, well, Oh, wouldn't you like to know? He's a horse. I find this show to be very comical and enjoyable. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to look too deeply at any logic or anything like that because you're not supposed to. This is supposed to be the most unhinged, ridiculous thing ever to come in to our brains. Like, it's just so hysterically. You know what it also kind of reminded me of? In the very vague sense, it very much reminds me of Gallivant as well.
Yeah.
Because of its ridiculousness and its nonsensical approach to that time period and the genre of royalty slash magic slash is that like Elizabeth? What do we call it? Elizabethan? Whatever.
It's
Same.
It's close enough.
Tudor. Tudor. That's it. It's Tudor. It's the Tudor era. But yeah, like it's so enjoyable. I watched 4 episodes and I didn't feel like I was slogging through it at all, unlike with the 3 episodes of The Bear. Like, I truly enjoy it. I can't wait to watch the last 4 episodes. Or maybe there's more than, is there 8 or 10? Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm excited to watch the rest. Okay, so the last 4 episodes, I'm excited to watch them. I'm curious to see how everything